I still remember the smell of chalk and dust, the echo of footsteps in long, empty hallways, the way the fluorescent lights flickered as if they were nervous about something none of us could see. That was our old elementary school, a place that should have stayed locked away in the past. We thought it was just a building, just another piece of our childhood. But time has a way of twisting memories, and places have a way of holding on to secrets. Some places should never be visited again. But we went back. There were 4 of us. Me, Jason, Lily, and Marcus. We hadn't been together in years. Life had pulled us in different directions, as it always does. But something about that school kept creeping back into our conversations whenever we met. A joke at first, then a dare, and finally, a decision. We'd go back one last time. At first it sounded harmless, a night of nostalgia, sneaking into the abandoned school we all grew up in, reliving those simpler years. But nostalgia can be dangerous, because the past isn't always what you think it is. The school had been shut down 15 years ago. They said it was because of funding cuts, low enrollment, all the usual excuses. But even as kids, we knew there was something off. The sudden way it happened. The way the teachers wouldn't answer our questions. The way our parents never spoke about it afterward. Still, we buried it. We grew up. We moved on. At least, that's what we thought. It was Jason who first brought it up again. We were at a bar, a dimly lit place we all used to go to after work. He had that grin on his face, the same one he wore as a kid right before he did something reckless. "Ever wonder what's left inside the old place?" he asked. We laughed it off at first, but the idea stuck. Lily rolled her eyes. "What, you want to break into a condemned building? That's your idea of fun." Jason shrugged. "We're not kids anymore. What's the worst that could happen? Besides, don't you want to know? Don't you feel it even now? That school, it never really left us." He was right. 2 nights later, we were there, standing in front of the rusted gates of the old school. The sign was still there, though the letters were chipped and faded. Our old playground was nothing but twisted metal and weeds. The windows were boarded up, but here and there you could see cracks where the wood had rotted. It looked dead, but it didn't feel dead. The air was heavier somehow, like the building was holding its breath, waiting. Marcus muttered, "This is stupid. We're grown adults. We shouldn't be doing this." But he followed us anyway. Jason pushed the gate open with a screech that echoed too loud in the night. Lily shivered. I felt something crawl across my skin, like invisible fingers brushing my arm. We stepped inside. The hallways hadn't changed as much as I expected. The lockers were rusted, but they were still lined up like soldiers. Our classroom doors still had the little square windows in them, though the glass was cracked. Pieces of old posters clung to the walls, yellowed and peeling. Our footsteps echoed. It was the same sound from our childhood, but emptier now. We joked at first, tried to lighten the mood. Jason pointed at one of the classrooms. "That's where I failed math 3 years in a row." Lily smirked. "That's where Marcus cried because someone stole his lunch." We laughed, but the laughter didn't feel right. It sounded hollow, bouncing off the walls in a way that made me want to stop. That was when I noticed it. The smell. It wasn't dust. It wasn't mold. It was something heavier. Sweet and rotten, like fruit left out in the sun too long. "Do you smell that?" I whispered. Jason sniffed. "Yeah. What the hell is that?" None of us had an answer. We made our way to the gym. That was always the heart of the school, the place where assemblies were held, where games were played, where the whole school came together. Now it was a tomb. The basketball hoops dangled like broken limbs. The bleachers were splintered, and across the far wall, something had been scratched into the paint. Words, but not in English. Lily pulled out her phone to shine some light on it. The symbols twisted and curled like vines, sharp at the edges, almost alive in the glow. "What the hell is that?" Marcus muttered. Jason, of course, laughed. "Looks like art class got real creative after we left." But his laugh was too loud, too forced. The symbols seemed to shimmer just for a second, like they were carved fresh. We should have left then. We all felt it. That pull, that warning. But nostalgia is a dangerous thing. "Let's go upstairs," Jason said. "Remember the library?" The library. We all froze. None of us liked the library as kids. It was too quiet, too dark, even then. The librarian was a strange woman, her eyes too sharp, her smile too wide. And there was that one corner in the back, near the history section, where the lights never seemed to work. We hated that corner. Still, we followed Jason, because that's what we always did. The stairs groaned under our weight. The air grew colder the higher we climbed. By the time we reached the library doors, my breath was visible in the beam of Lily's flashlight. The doors were unlocked. Inside, the shelves were still full, dusty but intact. Books leaned at odd angles, pages curling. The smell was worse here, thick, sweet, like decay wrapped in sugar. Marcus gagged. "Jesus, this place is disgusting." Lily whispered, "Do you hear that?" We all went silent, and then we heard it. Whispering, not words we could understand, but a steady murmur, like voices carrying from another room. Only there was no other room. I'll never forget the look on Jason's face then. His grin was gone. For the first time, he looked unsure. "Probably the wind," he muttered. But his voice shook. The whispers grew louder. And from that dark corner, the one we always avoided, a shadow shifted. Something moved, not fast, not threatening, just watching. Lily's light flickered. The beam landed on the corner, and for a second I thought I saw eyes, small, black, glistening, dozens of them. Then they were gone. The whispers stopped, and the silence was worse. We should have run, but we didn't. Not yet. Because something kept us there. A memory, a question, and maybe deep down, we already knew the truth. This wasn't just a school. It never was. Jason tried to laugh again, but the sound caught in his throat. He wiped his hands on his jeans like they were sweating. "We came this far," he said, trying to sound brave. "Let's just check out the history section. Then we'll go." None of us answered, but we followed him. The shelves in the history aisle were taller, darker. Dust coated the spines of old books, and spider webs clung like lace. Lily's flashlight scanned across titles that didn't look familiar. They weren't school textbooks. These were older, bound in cracked leather, their titles written in faded ink. Some weren't in English at all. Marcus touched one and pulled his hand back fast. "It's warm," he whispered. I reached out too. He wasn't lying. The leather wasn't cold like it should have been. It pulsed, faintly, like skin over a heartbeat. We froze. That's when the shelf trembled. Just a little, as if something had brushed against it from the other side. Lily's light darted across the row. For half a second, I saw it. A hand. Thin, gray, too many fingers. And then it slid back between the books. "Okay," Jason said, his voice high, shaky. "We're leaving." For once, nobody argued. We rushed down the hall, back to the stairs, but the air had changed. It was heavier, pressing against our chests. The whispers started again, louder now, following us. Halfway down the staircase, the lights overhead flickered. Then they went out completely. We were swallowed by the dark. Only Lily's phone lit the way, her hand shaking so bad the beam swung across the walls. That's when we saw them. Children, dozens of them, standing in the hallway below. Pale, thin, their eyes black hollows, their mouths open, but no sound came out. I grabbed Jason's arm. "Do you see?" But before I could finish, the children vanished. The hallway was empty again. Empty, except for the smell. Stronger now, sickly sweet, like death pretending to be candy. Marcus broke first. He shoved past us, bolting down the stairs. "I'm not staying here!" We chased after him, but when we reached the bottom, he was gone. The hallway stretched out too long, longer than it should have been. Doors lined the walls, doors I didn't remember from childhood, each one slightly open, darkness spilling out like smoke. "Marcus!" Jason shouted. His voice echoed, warped, like the building was mocking him. A door slammed shut down the hall, and then a laugh. High-pitched, childlike, but wrong. So wrong. We didn't run after him. We couldn't. Something about that hallway felt alive, like it was breathing, waiting for us to step deeper inside. Instead, we turned toward the gym again. Back to where we started. But the gym wasn't the same. The symbols on the wall glowed now, a faint red, pulsing like veins. The floor was wet, not with water, with something thicker, darker. Lily gagged. Jason backed away, shaking his head. "This isn't real," he whispered. "It's some kind of trick. It's..." Then the symbols shifted, right in front of us, rearranging themselves into words we could finally read. The message was simple. "We keep what was given." The air grew colder. The whispers turned into cries, and from the corners of the gym, shapes began to crawl out. Not children, not adults. Something in between. Their bodies bent at wrong angles, their limbs stretching too far, their eyes glowing faintly red. They circled us, slow, dragging themselves across the floor. Their mouths opened, but instead of voices, we heard memories. Our memories. Jason's voice as a child, crying in the principal's office. Lily's laughter from recess. Marcus screaming when he broke his arm in the playground. My own voice, whispering secrets I didn't even remember telling. They weren't just creatures. They were us. Pieces of us. Twisted and stolen. Lily screamed. She dropped her phone and the light went out. The darkness closed in. I felt a hand brush against mine. Too thin. too cold. I yanked away, heart pounding. Jason shouted, "Run!" But where? Every exit was gone. The doors were walls now. The gym had sealed itself shut. We pressed ourselves against the wall, breathing hard, searching for a way out. But the gym had swallowed us whole. The creatures stopped moving. They just stood there, their bodies twitching in the dim glow of the symbols. And then, from somewhere above us, a voice spoke. Not loud, not soft, just steady, ancient. You came back. The words weren't in English, not exactly, but we understood them. Deep inside, our bones understood. Jason shouted, "Who's there?" "What do you want from us?" The voice laughed, a sound like stone grinding against stone. "We want nothing. You gave already." The floor rippled beneath our feet, and the gym shifted. The bleachers sank into the ground. The basketball hoops melted into the shadows. The walls stretched higher, wider, until it felt like we were standing inside a cathedral made of bone. The glowing symbols rearranged again. Lily clutched my arm, whispering, "It's a language. It's not human." And then we saw them. Behind the creatures, behind the crawling shapes, rows and rows of smaller figures. Children, hundreds of them. Pale, silent, standing in lines like they were waiting. Their eyes glowed faintly, empty but watching. And at the very back, high above, something towered over them all. A figure with no face, just darkness. A tall shadow with arms that reached the ground. Lily gasped, shaking. No, it can't be real." The voice filled the room again. This ground was sacred once. Before the walls, before the books, before the children came. Jason swallowed hard. Sacred? Sacred to who? To us. The shadow leaned forward. This was our altar, our earth, and they built their school upon it. They gave us the innocent wrapped in laughter and play. They gave us what we hungered for, year after year, child after child. My stomach twisted. Memories clicked into place. The missing kids, the sudden transfers, the parents who whispered but never spoke too loud. We thought it was rumor. We thought it was gossip. But it wasn't. It was sacrifice. Jason's voice cracked. "You're lying." The shadow shook its head. "You remember. Think. The friend who vanished from your desk. The empty chair. The teachers who never explained. They knew. They gave. I felt cold all over. Because I remembered. Sophie. The girl who sat next to me in 3rd grade. One day she was just gone. No explanation. No goodbye. I'd buried that memory. We all had. Now it clawed its way back. Marcus. The thought hit me like a punch. He was gone now too. Swallowed by the hallway. Jason shouted again, voice breaking. "What do you want with us now?" We're not kids anymore. The shadow leaned closer, its presence pressing against us like a storm. You were given. Once given, never freed. You carry the mark, the guilt, the memory. We will feed on it. We will keep you as we kept the others. The children behind it all tilted their heads in unison. Their mouths opened, and finally, sound poured out. Screams. Hundreds of screams, overlapping, tearing through the air until my ears rang and my chest ached. Lily collapsed to the floor, covering her ears. Jason pulled at the walls, slamming his fists, trying to break through. I stood frozen, my body shaking, and through the noise, I heard something else. A smaller voice, a whisper, clear and close, right behind me. You can leave. But only one. I spun around. Nothing there. Just shadows. But the choice hung in the air like a blade. Only one of us could leave. And the rest would stay forever. The screaming stopped as suddenly as it began. The silence that followed was worse, sharp and hollow, pressing against my chest. Jason's fists were bloody from pounding the wall. Lily sat on the floor, rocking back and forth, whispering, "This isn't real," over and over. I could still hear the whisper, the promise. One can leave. Only one. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I knew it was true. The shadow didn't lie. The creatures circled closer, their limbs dragging across the floor like broken bones. The pale children in the back tilted their heads in unison, their eyes glowing. Jason turned to me. His face was pale, his breath fast. "You heard it too, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He grabbed my shoulders, shaking me. "Tell me you heard it. One of us can get out." Lily lifted her head, her eyes wide, wet with tears. No, we're not leaving anyone. We'll find another way. There has to be another way." Her voice cracked, and even she didn't sound convinced. The shadow leaned forward again, its body stretching until it seemed to fill the gym. "One will leave. Two will stay. The choice is yours." The words echoed through me like poison. Jason let go of me and stepped back, breathing hard. His eyes darted between me and Lily. No way. I'm not staying here." Lily scrambled to her feet, her voice trembling but fierce. "You can't just decide that, Jason. We've known each other since we were kids. We're family." Jason's jaw clenched. Family doesn't matter in hell. For a moment, none of us moved. Then Jason lunged. He shoved Lily to the ground and bolted toward the wall of pale children. I screamed his name, but he didn't stop. He ran straight at them, like maybe he thought he could break through. But the children didn't move. They opened their mouths wider, until black smoke poured out. It wrapped around Jason like chains, dragging him to his knees. He screamed, clawing at his throat, his eyes bulging. Then his body twisted, his limbs cracked at wrong angles. His scream turned into laughter. And then, he wasn't Jason anymore. He was one of them. Lily's sobs echoed in the silence that followed. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The shadow's voice filled the room again. One remains. One leaves. Lily looked up at me, her face streaked with tears. "It has to be you," she whispered. "You're stronger. You always were." I shook my head. No, Lily, don't." She stepped closer, pressing something into my hand. My old bracelet, the one I'd lost in 5th grade. She'd kept it all this time. "Go," she said softly. "Tell them what happened. Don't let us be forgotten." The ground beneath us began to split, the gym trembling like an earthquake. The walls groaned, the ceiling cracking. Lily backed away, her eyes locked on mine. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Run." The shadow stretched its hand toward her. The pale children swarmed closer. And I turned. I ran. Through a door that hadn't been there before, into the night. When I stumbled out, the school was silent behind me. The building stood still, boarded windows dark. The gate was shut. No sound, no movement. It was like nothing had happened at all. But in my hand, I still clutched the bracelet. And in my ears, I could still hear the whispers. We keep what was given. I don't remember how far I ran. The night blurred into shadows, the air sharp and cold in my lungs. My legs burned, my chest ached, but I didn't stop until the school was nothing but a black shape in the distance. I collapsed on the sidewalk, gasping, shaking. For a moment I thought maybe it was over. Maybe I had escaped. But then I looked at the bracelet in my hand. Lily's bracelet. My bracelet. And I knew I hadn't really escaped anything. The days that followed were a blur. People asked questions when they realized Jason, Lily, and Marcus were gone. The police searched the building. They said it was empty, rotting, unsafe, but empty. They didn't see the scratches on the walls. They didn't smell the rot. They didn't hear the whispers. And of course, they didn't find my friends. It was like they'd never existed at all. At night, I can still hear them. Lily's voice calling my name. Jason's laughter, warped and cruel. Marcus's scream echoing from the endless hallway. Sometimes, I wake up with the smell of rot in my room. Sweet and heavy, filling the air until I choke on it. Sometimes, when I pass by a playground or a schoolyard, I see children staring at me, their eyes too black, too hollow. And for just a second, I think I recognize their faces. And sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I see the shadow. Tall, faceless, waiting. I tried to tell people. No one believed me. They said trauma plays tricks on memory, that I invented ghosts to deal with grief. But I know the truth. The school wasn't just a school. It was an altar, and the sacrifices never stopped. The whispers come more often now, louder. They follow me into my dreams. They remind me of the words carved into the wall. We keep what was given. But there's something else they whisper now. A new promise. One left. Not for long. Sometimes, late at night, I hear footsteps in my hallway. Slow, careful. A child's giggle drifting from the darkness. When I open the door, nothing's there. But the smell lingers. Sweet, rotten. And I know they're waiting. Not in the school. Here, with me. I don't know how long I have left. But I know one thing. You don't escape a place like that. Not really, because once you've been given, you never stop belonging to them.